Hitbox has been banned. At least that might have been what you have heard on Twitter because people don't know how to get their facts straight. This controller has caused so much controversy that the FGC may never recover. From its inception 12 plus years ago, things have never been the same. We have not known peace in the fighting game community since then. So what has happened and why has it stirred up more controversy as of today? Well, Capcom fighters tweeted this out of the blue last night saying, notice of rule change in anticipation of the 2023 season. Capcom has made the decision to update the Capcom Pro Tour rules in relation to leverless controllers. This was done to address consistency and fairness concerns. This rule change can be viewed on CapcomProTour.com. The complete rules for the season will be available closer to the start of the CPT. So 2023 season will be for Street Fighter 6. So this is the CPT season for Street Fighter 6, and it's specifically made for leverless controllers with leverless controllers in mind for consistency and fairness concerns. So what did the fine print say? What does this all really mean? What does SOCD even stand for? And how should we comprehend and how should we react moving forward? I'm going to cover all that in this video and break it all down before we can even get into the rule change, because I don't want to confuse and have more misinformation spread. I'm going to have to break down what SOCD is. And listen, I put my Photoshop skills to the test. 10,000 hours in Photoshop, and I made this chart for you to finally put it all to rest. Okay? All right, here we go. SOCD is the big key with this entire discussion. SOCD stands for simultaneous opposing cardinal directions, or maybe opposite. Listen, even I don't even know. I'm supposed to be the expert here. I always say opposing, could be opposite. It just refers to cardinal directions, left, right, up, down, and the opposites of them. Left and right are simultaneous opposing cardinal directions, and up and down, these pairs, left, right, and then up, down. On a regular controller, such as a fight stick or a PlayStation pad right here, you are physically incapable, for the most part, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, of doing simultaneous opposing cardinal direction inputs. If I press left, I physically cannot press right at the same time. Okay, you just cannot do it. If I press up, I cannot press down at the same time. Even if I use the D-pad, you literally cannot, right? You press left in the D-pad or right or up or down. You can't do both at the same time. Hitbox in all its glory is basically a big glorified keyboard and allows you to input any direction at any moment because, you know, you have your left, you have your right, and you have up and down. They're all accessible all at the same time. I can press any combination of these as I want. Left and right is physically impossible on a stick and a pad. Up and down is physically impossible on a stick and a pad, but I'm doing it right here live, breaking the rules of reality in fighting games right here. So what does that mean? I'm able to do these inputs. How should the game interpret that? Well, this is how currently the modern generation of fighting games interprets that. So with a controller as a hitbox, if I put left and right at the same time, what the controller does at the hardware level is it sends to the machine, the PC or the PlayStation or the Xbox One, whatever you have, it sends neutral. That's what it sends. So when you reach the software level, what the game sees, what you see at the end result is you get neutral in Street Fighter 5 and neutral in Street Fighter 6. Because the hitbox said, oh, even though my user is inputting left and right, what it's gonna leave the controller is gonna be neutral. Now, what happens if the user presses up and down at the same time? What the hardware does at the hitbox level, this is how hitbox, and this is the standard for most leverless controllers, they do this. If you hold up and down at the same time, you get up. That's what the controller will send to the system. It will send up. So the game has no idea what the user inputted. Street Fighter 5 will see up and go, okay, you gave me up, you get up. Street Fighter 6 will see up and go, okay, you gave me up, you get up. The software has no idea what the user put because it just sees what the hardware sends. So Hitbox is masking the inputs and sending it up. Now let's go on to the PlayStation pad. Now remember when I told you can't send simultaneous opposing cardinal direction inputs, SOCDs, on pad? I lied. Okay, look, you have this nifty thing here. You have a D-pad and you have an analog stick. And you can use both of these at the same time when controlling the game. And in fact, what if I wasn't using a pad? What if I was using a freaking keyboard? A keyboard is almost like a hitbox. What if I was just using keyboard to control Street Fighter 5? We're no longer in the arcades. I have many ways to control games. These games come out on PC. What if I just use my keyboard to control the game? I can do left and right at the same time. I can do up and down. I can do that on here too. So what happens if you are sending these signals to the software and the software has to handle it. These controllers will just take the user input, no matter what you give it, and send that to the system. You do left and right on a keyboard or pad, it'll send left and right to the software. You do up and down on a keyboard or pad, and it'll send up and down to the software. So how does the game see it? Now, this is where it gets weird. On Street Fighter V, if you do left and right at the same time, you literally walk towards the opponent the entire time. If your opponent is on the right, you end up holding right. If the opponent's on the left, you end up holding left, which is weird behavior. But that's what Street Fighter V does. In Street Fighter VI, they simplified things and said, hey, if you send to my software left plus right, we're giving you neutral. You get nothing. Consistent, right? Street Fighter VI is pretty consistent. You give it up and down as well, it gives nothing. At the software level for Street Fighter V, if you do up and down, it gives you up. In Street Fighter VI, they simplified everything is neutral. So this is the current lay of the land with SOCD. So pad and keyboard represent what the software is doing. There's some inconsistencies here, right? So is that a problem? Well, I think Capcom decided it was to a degree. This is the big rule change. If up and down directions are input at the same time, both inputs must be maintained or both inputs must be rejected. Both inputs must be maintained or both must be rejected. What does that mean? If you input up and down at the same time and you send both of them, if you maintain both of them, Street Fighter VI is going to give you neutral at the software level. However, if you do have hardware level SOCD cleaning, if you input up and down at the same time, this combination is legal because there's no SOCD cleaning. You maintain the inputs, and then Street Fighter VI knows what to do, gives you neutral. Here, this is where Hitbox is going wrong. Up and down right here, they modified it to up, and then Street Fighter VI gives you up. This is no longer legal. This is exactly what the problem is. Because the Hitbox and pretty much every leverless controller does do some software or hardware level SOCD cleaning, the game doesn't handle the inputs as they want. They're saying essentially, hey, stop modifying on the hardware end the inputs. Let the software decide what should happen if you send these inputs at the same time. But there is context to the reason why Hitbox actually modifies the inputs in this manner. This has been done for 10 plus years. Hitbox has been around and it's always been up plus down, it goes up, and we've been getting along, not maybe with some conflict here and there, but we've been getting along to some level of decorum here. Why did we even have hardware level SOCD cleaning in the first place? Why didn't we always just send the raw input data to the game? Well, when Hitbox was first manufactured, this was back in like 2010, no one on the software development side really had any idea what was going on at that time. And in fact, there's this ancient video from 2011 here, which I remembered. This is just something that's stuck in the back of my head. This guy here is testing on OG MVC3, not UMVC3, just Marvel vs. Capcom 3 vanilla release, an original Hitbox style controller that had no hardware level SOCD cleaning. And right now in this demonstration, he's holding left and right at the same time. And look what he's able to do with Hulk and doing a charge move. He starts mashing the punch button and he's getting infinite instances of the charge move without ever letting go of the charge. He's holding left and right the entire time, and it's just giving him infinite charge moves. He never has to let go of left and right. Because at this time in MVC3, the game had no freaking clue what to do if you inputted up and down at the same time or left and right at the same time. I don't have video footage of it, but I'm also pretty sure that holding left and right at the same time would legit block left and right at the same time. And some pad players used to exploit this on incoming, and they would hold left on the D-pad and right on the analog stick, and they would block left and right at the same time for incoming mix-ups for vanilla Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The game was broken. The game was legitimately broken because this is still new. Like, people are still used to, developers at this time are still used to developing controllers or developing games with only intended hardware in mind, like going straight to an arcade board. You're playing on an arcade stick. This whole idea of going to console as the default format where people can use their own peripherals and having to account for these things, it just wasn't in the mind of developers. This was handled in UMVC3. It implemented its own software level SOCD cleaning to not be so game breaking if you input left and right at the same time. And Street Fighter 4 had some level of SOCD cleaning. I forget the exact rules. And like I showed before, Street Fighter 5 has SOCD cleaning. It's just a little weird. Well, I don't know why left and right is towards opponent. There's a lot of ways to exploit that as well. But you know, we started having software level SOCD cleaning. But because of this anomaly with these older games, when Hitbox became a thing, they had to take action. The controllers were legitimately broken without having hardware level SOCD cleaning because the games of the era when the device was implemented did not have the ability to handle the inputs properly. So thus, the standard of left plus right equals neutral and up plus down equals up was born over a decade ago. And that has been the standard for leverless controllers ever since. So Street Fighter 6 is coming in CPT and they're saying, hey, stop doing hardware SOCD cleaning. We know this has been the standard for 10 plus years, but stop doing it on the hardware side. Let us, the software, we're finally smart enough to handle the inputs and you guys don't have to make decisions anymore. And why are they specifically targeting this type of SOCD cleaning? Now that's the interesting part. Why are they targeting up plus down equals up? When you take these inputs, you can change these to whatever you want, right? Left plus right, I can make that equal towards opponent. Left plus right, I can make that equal X, whatever, right? So like when you clean the SOCD inputs, what it outputs, you have a choice in the matter as a hardware developer, as a hardware manufacturer. So why are they targeting this one? Up plus down equals up. Why is that a big deal? Well, the main thing is it allows a lot of techniques. So I'm going to go to the actual Hitbox manufacturer website directly, and they get to flex a bit of the power of Hitbox. The main benefit of Hitbox with having the independent buttons is that you have far less travel time with everything you're doing. So Guile doing a sonic boom, there's nothing really strange about this and what they're showing. It's just that because you don't have to physically move a lever from left through neutral to right, you have two independent buttons that you alternate, you're able to actually input these moves with a lot more precision and a lot faster. There's frames of milliseconds that you're shaving off in the time for executing these moves. So actually you can get much more optimal with doing charge moves with Hitbox, right? But this is still within the realm of possibility. There's no weird SOCD cleaning. It's just faster, right? Just faster. That's all it is. However, let's look at flash kick. How do you enter a flash kick? Well, we mentioned that SOCD cleaning. Flash kick is usually hold down or down back and then hit up or up back plus kick. So look at how he's inputting the flash kick here. Left, down, right, up. That's the button layout. The up is like a big old button down here. He's holding left plus down right here, which gives you down back. And then all he's having to do to activate the flash kick is tap the kick button plus the jump button at the same time. This gives you a flash kick. Now, why is this special? So first of all, you can see how the input is super easy. While holding the down back position, you just tap the button, right? So that's obviously much more ergonomic, much more efficient than hitting up on your stick. But what makes this especially nefarious is the fact that you actually never hit neutral. And this is where it gets technical. The ability to do a perfect flash kick, go from down to frame perfect up and instantly activate the flash kick, means you remain crouching the entire time. You never stand up before the flash kick activates. On a normal controller, most of the time you're gonna have a frame where you're standing, then hit up and then flash kick. And that makes a world of difference in its applications. And I have a real world example where I can show you this firsthand. Okay, let's go to the lab here. So I'm gonna be using a PlayStation pad here first to demonstrate this. And an interesting property about Guile's heavy kick flash kick is that it's fireball invincible, right? So normally you should be able to go through fireballs. However, in this specific cooked up example, the moment I hit up, this is Akuma's EX Air Fireball. The moment I hit up, I'm actually forced to block the Akuma EX Air Fireball. This thing pins you down. So here, let me attempt to flash kick through it to the best of my ability on a pad. I'm gonna use D-pad here with my, my left hand. I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. You notice what's happening here? I keep standing up into the fireball, and I keep getting clipped. Let's see if I can get it. Now, theoretically, this is possible to do, to go directly from down back to up in one frame and get the flash kick. It's just extremely difficult. I did it before going live today. I practiced this. I got it out like 1 out of 20 times. I got the flash kick. Now I can show you this with arcade stick, but it's the same freaking deal. I got it like maybe 1 out of 10 times on arcade stick. So if you're godlike, frame perfect precision, you can do the flash kick underneath this, right? But it's just so unreliable. You're not gonna get this every time. It's just not gonna happen. However, let me go ahead and plug in my handy dandy hitbox. you catch it? If you wait too late, I guess you still get hit. Now remember, what I'm doing here is I'm holding down back and I'm just tapping like this. That's all I'm doing. I'm holding down back. That's it. And you saw how I couldn't even show you live any examples of hitting it on pad. I literally could not do it. It is theoretically possible to go from down to up within 1 frame and hit it, but I couldn't do it. However, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you can do it on pad. So this is where stick falls behind everything in terms of Street Fighter V. All you got to do it on pad is to use the D-pad and the analog stick in conjunction with each other. Just hold down back with the D-pad and then flick with the analog stick. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. So pad guile players do that. Kappa does this. He's talked about it. Or Men has talked about how Kappa does this. So you can do it on pad. On stick, you'll get it like 1 out of every 10 times. So good luck doing it on stick. So that's not the only trick that the up plus down equals up SOCD cleaning would give you. So this makes up plus down SOCD charging extremely effective for characters like Guile and Aura, which is like a huge reason why I decided to use Hitbox for Aura, because he has a charge up move with his heavy punch, right? Or sorry, his flash punch move. His DP is a charge down and up input. So you clearly get a distinct advantage with up plus down SOCD cleaning on Hitbox for doing these kind of inputs, right? And for general jumping, because you can instantly jump and avoid things like Burry's Bullet Revenger. So jumping is more powerful defensively with this SOCD cleaning. So what are they trying to have happen by forcing Hitbox to get rid of this SOCD cleaning and go to the pad style? Well, it's kind of funny, because actually, in a weird way, you're actually opening up the floodgates for a lot of other tricks with the Hitbox instead. So I didn't even mention all the other tricks that this controller has, but if you go to the Hitbox website, beyond the charge moves, if you look at all the weird shortcuts that exist specifically for Street Fighter V, you can see that, you know, there's some weird ways of doing DPs. So here's a weird DP motion: forward, down, forward, up, forward. Why would you do that for DP? Okay, it seems strange, but what does the inputs actually look like? When you're doing it on the Hitbox, you hold forward, then forward plus down, and then you hold them and then press up. Why would you do that? Well, because remember the SOCD cleaning rules. If you have down plus up at the same time, that equals up. Why does that result in a DP? The input interpreter for Street Fighter V is extremely lenient to the point where nonsensical inputs register as special moves. So you can do this weird shortcut, which is super fast to input, and it gives you a DP. This input forward, down forward, up forward would not give you a DP in Street Fighter 6 because they tightened up the input restrictions on special moves because of stuff like this, right? The input interpreter in Street Fighter 6 is a bit more tight. So even with the Hitbox as it is right now, you can't do these kind of shortcuts for a lot of moves. But they kind of open the floodgates again because you get rid of one SOCD shortcut exploit and you bring in another. And I'll defer to Rushdown here to talk a bit more about it because he's more the Hitbox expert in terms of non-charge moves than I am. He has this nice thread here talking about a lot of these changes. However, with this change, a lot of those shortcuts come back because the inputs will look much more like a standard stick input to the game. Your 639 DP with the same input will look like 636, which should work. Okay, so this input here, instead of being 6, which is forward, 3, which is down forward, 9, which is up forward, this becomes 6, which is forward, 3, which is down forward, and instead of this becoming up forward, the up and down inputs become neutral, and all this shows is forward. This becomes forward, down, forward. Forward, down, forward, forward. The classic DP shortcut. They got rid of this shortcut on Hitbox by addressing the input interpreter. Then they said, never mind, change your SOCD cleaning. And when you change your SOCD cleaning, it actually brings the input shortcut back. So yes, they got rid of up, down, instant flash kick, but they purposely got rid of this shortcut for sure targeting Hitbox, and then they literally brought it right back by saying change how your controller works. So what did they accomplish? What did they accomplish? They went full circle on this. No matter what you do with SOCD cleaning, new exploits will be found. It's just the nature of the beast with having access to every direction at once. It's just the nature of the beast. So it's kind of confusing that they're targeting specifically Guile. Right now, on release in Street Fighter 6, only Guile we know about has a down plus up charge move, which is the biggest offender of this move. Yes, I do agree that jump back defense being nerfed because having to let go of down and then hit up is definitely slower, so your jumps will be less precise. So defensively, things might be harder as well for Hitbox, but they brought back all the shortcuts for other special moves, so it's a little strange. It's more of a horizontal shift than a complete nerf. It depends on what you value. If you're a Guile player, this is a nerf. If you're a Shoto player, this might be a buff. If you're a Hitbox Shoto player, this might be a buff for you. Fubarduck mentions Momochi talking about this. He points out pretty similar shortcut exploits that are now available because of the change in the SOCD ruling. You'll be able to do walking fireball motions without button releases and be able to do the 639 DP shortcut, which we just covered. Hold 2, push and hold 6, so down forward, and then push up while holding 2 and 6 is faster fireball. Anytime you press a move rather than releasing your button, it's faster. It's more ergonomic, I would say. I think negative edging on directions on Hitbox is very sloppy, and your fingers are just weaker for lifting than for pressing. It's just something I've clearly noticed after playing Hitbox for 6+ months now. I played Stick for over a decade. I've been playing Hitbox for 6 months. Lifting your finger for direction is actually very difficult, including especially your middle finger. Your middle finger will be, and that's the down input. It's definitely sloppy. So being able to just tap a button to do a direction is way stronger than having to lift your fingers instead. So this SOCD shortcut is definitely a much faster fireball. Way faster. So that's actually definitely a big buff for Shotos. I think this change in the SOCD ruling just buffs Shotos and nerfs charge characters. So what does this mean for the Hitbox manufacturers, and what does this mean for the community at large, right? So Hitbox, they saw this, they looked at it, and obviously they weren't happy. Because this is their bread and butter. This is what they do. This is how they make their money. Regarding the CPT 2023 rule set, please know that we empathize with all of these new concerns and uncertainty for our existing new customers. This is still a developing situation, which we assure you has our full attention. We're confident that we'll be able to provide a solution to our customers that will comply with any changes to rule sets. While Capcom and Street Fighter are an important part of the fighting game community, they do not represent the community as a whole. The larger tournament community and its leadership have already ruled many times over that the current SOCD resolutions in our controllers are appropriate for tournament play. We stand firmly by and believe in this standard, a standard that was set more than a decade ago and that is still implemented to this day. Up plus down equals up. So this is kind of a political statement, to be quite honest, more so than trying to quell the fears of the customers, because think about it. Everybody who bought a Hitbox is worried, like, did I waste $300 on this Hitbox? Can I use this Hitbox to compete in tournaments? I just bought a Hitbox, and the next day Capcom says it's no longer legal. What am I going to do? I hope they have a solution to release a firmware update that will change the SOCD cleaning to make this tournament legal. But yeah, people are concerned, about their money, about their purchase. It's definitely a big deal, and so they're not really emphasizing that. They're kind of just talking about, like, hey, you should allow up plus down to equal up because it's what we've been doing, which I kind of agree. I mean, I'll get more into it, but this is definitely a huge problem for them and their bottom line. They confirmed an update. This is breaking news. Breaking news 13 minutes ago. We do have a new firmware to resolve up plus down as neutral. Great, good to hear. To provide a solution for players competing in the CPT, however, we want to further test this firmware before our public release. This firmware legalizes the hitbox at CPT events. Our first and foremost concern is our customers and ensuring that they are prepared to play at CPT events. We stand firmly that our current SOCD model is the most balanced and practical setting for all fighting games. SOCD True Neutral will add more techniques to hitbox controllers than it removed. That's kind of facts. That's kind of facts. They're hinting at the can of worms. Like, there will be more people finding more exploits with SOCD up plus down as neutral than they realize. Like, I think I'm still questioning what Capcom is thinking here. Still questioning it. So obviously that's good news. Junk Food Arcades, who makes the popular Snackbox microcontrollers, also mentioned cool people play multiple games, each with different SOCD rules. We allow you to be in compliance with your micro in all conditions through an upcoming already in progress firmware update. We will also have a visual indicator of compliance. So it sounds like most of the hardware manufacturers are going to release updates which comply with the CPT rulings. The other big player is Victrix. They just released, what is that, the $400 Pro something or another Hitbox style controller, leverless controller. I don't know if they've released a statement about if they're going to update it to make it legal for CPT. But yeah, consumers are concerned about this. You know, this is what they're practicing on. Like for me, I practiced Hitbox for the last 6 months, and suddenly my muscle memory has to change, not just for input shortcuts, but for general movement. I use SOCD jump the entire time. I always hold down back and hit up to jump. It's just what you do. So that's definitely a tough thing, a tough pill to swallow. It's just like suddenly you have to change how you play the game 2 months before $2 million CPT starts, which is a little tough. Here's some funny reactions though. I thought this one was pretty good. Fasta says, neat. Capcom Pro Tour. Banning down plus up equals up. Gun coming back at them. 1 frame fuzzy block, 639 plus PDP. So yeah, they got rid of one technique, which really only benefits Guile. And then they open up the floodgates for techniques that benefit a lot more majority of the cast. The fuzzy block they're referring to is you'll be able to hold down back, and then instead of having to release your middle finger to block back to do block and overhead, down back to back, releasing your middle finger takes time. Now instead of doing that, you can just tap your thumb down. If you have left plus down held and then you tap jump, the up and down will cancel each other and you only are left with left. So now to block overheads on reaction, you just have to tap a button. Press button when you see overhead. So it actually makes blocking overheads better as well. So it's this is a game of whack-a-mole here. It's a game of whack-a-mole. So what are they trying to achieve, right? This is my big question. What are they trying to achieve? I don't understand what the goal is. So basically the summary, it's hurting Guile the most in Street Fighter 6. Perfect flash kick was and is very strong. That is hurting it. It hurts fuzzy jumping and it hurts effective jumping. So defensive jumping is really what is hurt. Jumping away and low profiling moves, and then jumping over command grabs. If there's any lunging command grabs in Street Fighter 6, it's going to hurt that. I still think Hitbox is better than Stick overall. However, I think that that difference is exaggerated depending on what you value. I still feel like Hitbox is very cumbersome. Even 6-7 months into it, I think it takes a lot more mental energy to optimize. I think the skill ceiling is much higher, but the taxing on the mind and the body is much higher. I think people don't appreciate how good it is to be able to just fling your arcade stick on reaction. So messing with muscle memory for Hitbox players who've been using this for 10+ years, 2 months before Street Fighter 6 release is pretty whack. It's kind of weird. They're opening up a can of worms. It's a game of whack-a-mole with these SOCD shortcuts. You got rid of a few SOCD shortcuts that only impacted maybe Guile, and then you opened up a whole bunch of others that benefit a vast majority of the cast and potentially the entire cast, and some universal ones like blocking overheads with a button. So I don't know what they're really thinking. I don't know what they're thinking as far as actual implications with the fairness of the gameplay. And then as far as the community impact, it just sucks that people have been practicing for this way for a long time. And also think of the implication. It's a developer trying to change the standard that has been set by the community over a decade. Street Fighter and Capcom the Capcom Pro Tour is saying, stop doing hardware level SOCD. That is what they are saying. Let the software decide. I agree that that's what should have been done from the beginning. I think the software should have set the rules in the beginning, but Hitbox and other leverless hardware manufacturers could not rely on the games to do this in the beginning. It was just impossible. The games were not designed to handle SOCD inputs, and so they took matters into their own hands, and now they're being kind of, in a weird way, punished for it. Like, I don't know why they're not just accepting the standard, either banning leverless or accepting the standard SOCD that they've been using for this whole time. It's a little strange to see. So I don't really understand the value that Capcom is getting out of this. I don't understand if they truly get the implications of what they have done, but I don't know, we'll have to see. There's a small part of me that thinks that they might rescind this decision. I think that's a possibility. I get the impression that they didn't have someone on the team who like really understands Hitbox inside and out and leverless inside and out. I think they just know about the simple shortcut, because perfect flash kick is very easy to comprehend and understand. So that's very easy to get. The other ones are not as obvious. So we'll see. We'll see how this shakes up. Kind of a weird time to make this decision. Maybe Guile's just that busted in Street Fighter 6. I mean, he was definitely broken in the beta. So maybe someone who's been playing Guile at the offices and been beating their ass, and they had to do something to reel in that win rate. But that's the update. Hopefully that cleared up some things for you guys in the YouTube audience with Hitbox and the drama with Capcom Pro Tour and what this all really means. No, Hitbox is not banned. They just have to comply with the rules that set forth by the Capcom Pro Tour to be legal for tournament. And how are they going to enforce this? Online tournaments are going to happen. Half the CPT is online. How are you even going to know what legal SOCD is being used or not? Like, I don't get it. I'm confused. I'm trying to make you less confused, but I'm confused what Capcom is thinking. So I hope that helped. Bye.